the majority of our cast members are ready to go.
Let's bring in Paula.
And yeah, so if I don't know how you want to do it. I was thinking we introduce them, have them say hi, a couple little words on their character, and then introduce the other person and then go. Because
sure.
again, I don't want everyone to be waiting.
And then we've got like 2 hours. So we'll circle back around and talk to everybody. Yeah. Give everybody a chance to talk about their characters and stuff.
Yes.
Cool. Sounds good to me.
So yeah. So should I bumper people in?
No, we'll just bring them in. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Paula Llewellyn. Paula, we're going to take a minute and talk to you, and then we'll bring other people in, and we'll come back around to you as well, okay?
Oh, okay.
But what I wanted to talk about right now is this, because you're such a dear girl, such a great actor, and such a dear, dear girl, that it's going to be so hard for us to do this to you.
I don't think it'll be that hard.
So, Paula, before we bring in somebody else, I want to introduce you. This is Paula Llewellyn, you guys. She is a true find. This is one of the people that I was telling you about earlier that is one of the stars of tomorrow. When you see Vengeance Turns, you're going to remember Paula Llewellyn, and it'll change you. It'll change the way you think about movies, and you'll be ready to see her in your next feature. This is something I promise you. Paula, tell us a little bit about Rebecca and about Mia. Just whatever hit you, just a minute or just a quick few seconds, and then I'll bring in somebody else, and we'll come back around and talk to you quite a bit more about Rebecca and Mia.
Right. Rebecca is, your lovely mom, wife, sweet, kind, but also feminist and very inclusive, and and then she turns into Mia, which is who is revengeful and aggressive, and but also she just wants justice, which makes you always be on her side, no matter if she's being sweet and gentle or an animal.
Well, we'll come back and talk to you again in a minute, because when people see the smile and they're like, wait a minute, that is going to be this monstrous. So we'll show people what we got there in just a minute. Thank you for joining us.
Okay.
Let's see who else we got out there. So as we go through the movie, one of the other most important characters, the movie really is the story of Rebecca Falcone and how she becomes Mia Falcone. But there is another story arc in the movie that's really critically important, and it's the story of Simon Coltrane. And he also has a really complete arc in the movie. And when we were casting for it, we talked to a lot of different actors, and there was only one that we knew could play the role of Simon Coltrane. And when I saw his audition, I literally turned to David Ruano. I was like, that's him. I was so excited. So guys, let me introduce to you and get you excited about meeting Azim Vecchio. And Azim, tell us again, just a few seconds, man, about Simon and what he means to you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's so great to be here. Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you for having me. Simon Coltrane I think he's an amazing character. He goes from being this simple, kind of useless victim, and he transforms into this strong, grown, and honorable hero. And I think he really learns just how to listen to his own heart and become his own man, and yeah.
I dig it, man. And one of the things we had talked about is it's really interesting is that his father, Jefferson Coltrane, wants nothing worse than to see him become a man in this movie until he does become a man.
Yeah. It's just the definition. That's right. Different.
Let's bring in somebody else that's really important as far as this story goes. And it's strange because he's not on screen for the longest amount of time, but there's a few characters in this movie who don't have as much time on screen, but bring an impact that lasts throughout the entire movie. And of course, right now I'm talking about the character of Miguel Falcone, who is the husband to Paula's character of Rebecca before her transformation. So let me introduce you to Adam Freed, you guys. Good morning, Adam.
Good morning.
Adam, thank you for joining us last night too, man. It was really a blast. Tell us real quick as I'm bringing people in, because you and I have talked about this a bit too. While Michael Falcone has a short time on the screen, his impact resonates through a big, long story. what does he mean to you in just a few words? I'll come back to you too, but what does he mean to you just in a few words?
Yeah, I mean, he represents being a loving father and husband and sort of this everything that was good that Mia really has in her life. And as she loses everything when he gets taken away from her, I think he just really is that presence of hope and that things will get back to where she, used to be, the happiness that is there. So I think he's really just a really important role to the story and being that honorous, loving past that she has. So he's kind of is almost like the morality of the movie is kind of encapsulated in him.
Yeah, it's weird because I would think the same thing, and I would even go a step further. And it's weird because not to box you or your character in, but it's almost like 1876 morality, to be real, like specific,
Absolutely.
because there is a little bit of conventionality to it as well. It's very loving and very moral and very supportive, but there's also just that the shadow of 1876 on it.
Absolutely. And then as she loses everything, I feel like I love how he kind of just stays with her in that, whether it's memory or hallucination, but he just kind of is always there to kind of fuel the fire. Because even when she has moments of doubting her own rage of what she really wants to get her vengeance on, I think he just kind of keeps her there. He's like the ghostly echo that's always with her. So it's a very cool role, I think.
Thank you, man. I was really surprised as I wrote this original story, and then as Amanda and I wrote the screenplay. I've never set out just to write something that focused on female leads before, just as being because I wanted to write something about female leads. I didn't do that, but it was really weird at the end of the day that this movie ends up carrying a very strong, the opposite, a very strong cast of female characters ends up carrying the story. And one of the characters that brings the biggest surprise in all of the story is delivered by an actor. Did I get her? I thought I got her. Let me try this again. She's joining. Is named Mariah Hart, and she plays a character in the movie, and she's reprising the character from the podcast that we did, a character called Hester Blake. Good morning, Mariah. I said your name correctly because we're live.
Everything, right?
She's like, please always be live and stop saying my name, like no blow dryers or whatever it is. So the character of Hester Blake is really dear to me, and I don't want to spoil too much in it, except to say that she throws possibly the biggest curve of the whole story there's a moment at the end of the movie that goes like this. And there's not many actors you can depend on to deliver but Mariah does it, and she did it already as Hester in the podcast. If you want to get it spoiled, go listen. But Mariah is a great actor, a great friend to me, and has been a great supporter as we've been trying to get all this together. She actually, let me pull up some stuff real quick. Mariah, while I'm pulling this up, will you tell us a little bit just about what Hester, just a few words, what does Hester mean to you?
So when I was first reading through this script, so we got it in sections for the podcast. So when I was like, oh, she doesn't have very many lines. Why do they hate me? They obviously think I suck, And
I told her to hang in there.
And then I, we kept reading through the script, and I was like, holy shit, she's got such a good transition. I love Hester. I think playing the bad guy is so much fun. So she starts out as this little bitty, oh, poor me. And then at the end, you're like, wait, this bitch, what did she just do?
Yeah, and I love that too. Like I said, that she's very deceptive and very manipulative. That's Mariah behind us, you guys. She's been supporting this for so long. She helped us work out the makeup because I was getting really obsessed with this about a year ago and getting ready to shoot a short film to try to do what the podcast did and getting us some funding. And so I called Mariah one day, we texted her, we're like, oh, would you please let us put a bunch of makeup and prosthetics on you so we could do some makeup tests for Mia and for Delicate Poison? And she's like, sure.
He was like, wait, can you dye your hair black?
That was the whole thing. So I was like, so having said yes.
By the way.
I'm a natural blonde. He goes, hey, can you dye your hair black? And I was like, do you see how pasty I am? Like, no.
I'm like, but it's not about your skin tone. We're going to be putting stuff all over you. But so thank you, Mariah, for joining us. Let's bring in that next person, you guys. Let's see. Who do we have out there right now? Let's bring in another one of those powerful female characters. In the main through a big heart of the story. Bless you. Through a big heart of the story, we have these three.
Yeah,
really,
salute.
these three powerful female characters of Mia, who drives the whole thing. She's supported by a character named Delicate Poison, and then they meet possibly one of the oddest, most wonderful characters I've ever created. And it's pretty interesting. As I asked everybody on the cast about what other characters do you look forward to seeing brought to life, about half of them said that they wanted to see Gloria on the screen. And so I thought that was really interesting because she was one of my favorites too. But it's like I was saying about Adam and about Michael Falcone. When you first read the script, or when I tell you, if I just told you how many pages Gloria's on, you'd be like, well, that's not a starring role. If I said the same thing about Adam's role, you'd be like, well, that's not a starring role. But then when you see the movie, you're like, holy shit, they're like there through the whole thing, whether I saw them or not, you know? And that to me, I'm just saying, takes a hell of a writer. Takes a hell of a writer to pull that off. I don't know who wrote this thing, but it's pretty damn good. And right now we're going to bring in Shreya Patel, because Shreya again was like these other guys that, as we looked at different auditions and stuff, different things hit us from different actors about why we should or should not bring them into this movie. And with Shreya, it was a crackling kind of energy that said that she was Gloria, and we couldn't explain it, but we felt like, okay, that's her. And so we dug in and talked to her and worked out a lot of stuff, and we really found out that we were right. So Shreya, welcome. Good morning.
Morning.
Will you tell us, like everybody else, I'll come back to you in a minute. I'm going to try to, we got about an hour and a half or 2 hours worth of stuff, and then the film expo and all that. So I'll come back and talk to everybody more. But Shreya, just in a few words, will you tell us, what does Gloria mean to you?
Gloria is like she's crazy, but she's a microcosm of kind of like the anger that a lot of people feel when you've like been through shit. And, you know, she wants to feel justified in being able to like exert that anger, because like when you've been through stuff, it's hard to like, you can't just bounce back. A lot of times you got to exert the aggression and get it out of your system before you can kind of be normal. And Gloria does like exhibit little bits of where she shows people like, I can be a normal person. I'm just choosing to live my life the way I want to. And she's really unapologetic about that. And I just love that about her.
I do too. And what'll be really interesting, and when Kelsey gets in here, I'll talk to all three of you guys about this, but the real dynamic and what's going on between Delicate Poison, Mia, and Gloria is fascinating to me as the writer and director. And then watching you guys play the characters, that's only grown, you know? Right now, let's bring in Rob Fury, because Rob Fury is also another interesting case. He played the role of Jefferson Coltrane in the podcast for me. And
you could just stop at Rob Fury as an interesting case.
Holy cats. I'm done.
Rob.
I'm done. This is now the Rob Fury show. Everybody welcome to the Rob Fury show.
No, the thing is that I am literally in New York for a Comic-Con right now. And I had to.
I New York.
Like literally, I made them push my panel. My panel's supposed to be right now. I'm like, I'm sorry, this is a cast announcement for Benji's turn. You're pushing it back at least another half an hour or something. Because I'm like, I've been watching it from like the beginning, and it's like, you guys are awesome. I'm just so grateful to be part of this amazing cast with all you talented people. And yeah, man, I play Bronson. I'm a bad guy. It's always good being a bad guy. Man.
You can tell. I mean, you look good. You look good.
That is actually the outfit that he wears in the movie. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, it's just you're going a little.
There's a whole science fiction element to Vengeance Turns. I've been wanting to tell you guys. At the end, the aliens do show up. But Rob, you have a unique place in my heart, man, and in this cast. So having played both roles, don't go into too much detail because I don't want to spoil Jamal's thing. But will you tell us two different things? Will you tell us a little bit of why you liked playing playing Jefferson in the podcast, and then what is it about Bronson in the movie that made you say, yeah, I want to do that?
So when I auditioned for Jefferson, it was just like, I always like being like the villain, being the bad guy, because you can have any protagonist, any hero, but yet again, they could be lame because you don't have a good villain. So I was, Hester's like main person, and I love that. And then coming into Bronson, I'm like, Bronson, he has such a pivotal role that, you think it's not that much when you're reading the script, but like literally when you see it on scene, you're like, oh, stuff just hits the fan after this. So it's like, it's great. And it's just, you guys, if you haven't listened to the podcast, listen to the podcast to get you ready for this in person, because it's an amazing project. And donate 48hourtelethon.com.
Thank you. And so vengeanceturns.com, you guys, the podcast is still alive out there. And it was a lot of fun.
Gesundheit.
Dankeschön.
Last night,
Dankeschön.
Dankeschön, darling, Dankeschön. Last night, we replayed the live streams. I don't know if any of you guys ever heard the podcast, and if you've heard the podcast, you may not have heard the original live stream, but there's a live stream where just these actors read it with no effects, nothing, just crazy madness. And then there's the podcast where I took and put in all the effects and everything. So there is all of that out there. And the podcast, the radio show version, is available at vengeanceturns.com, where you can also get cool merchandise like this stuff, like stickers and prints and t-shirts and all that stuff. But yeah, I do want to thank Rob for joining us, and thank you for your being smart about your COVID there and putting your mask on, man. I appreciate that.
Well, out here in the Comic-Con, it's literally social distancing everywhere with tables and vendors. To be honest, this is probably going to be the new standard for Comic-Cons next year.
It's enforced on our shoot, and we're going to talk a little bit about that as well, because that was one of the other things we covered with every actor as we came in, is the fact that there's some challenges for us, and one of them is a challenge for them as well, and that is in accepting the role, kind of willing to confine yourself for the 2 weeks of the thing, but it's almost like we're quarantining together. That's kind of the way we put it together. So thank you, Rob. Man, Bronson is.
I can't with Rob Fury's hair right now.
Sorry, my All Might hair. But hey, you guys.
I'm jealous of any hair, personally.
I'm gonna have to get off the call, but definitely you guys rock out, and
we love you, Rob.
Thank you for doing this, man. Thank you.
Anytime. Peace. Love you guys.
And so one of the things that Rob was saying, you guys, is that the character of Bronson, like many of the characters in the movie, that they come on screen for short amounts of time. But Bronson, he was saying, plays a pivotal role. It's literally a pivotal role, because this is Mia in the middle of her transformation. This is Mia shedding Rebecca and embracing the new life, and it's her working out a lot of anger from Jefferson as well. So the scene is brutal. It's possibly one of the two most brutal scenes in the entire movie. Oh God, I'm sorry, one of the three most, 4, 5. There's some there are some very brutal scenes in this movie, folks.
Bobby, if you want to stick to the words, not the numbers.
Okay. Then, I got you. And you know what?
Yeah, and I feel like we missed an opportunity to get a weather update from Rob.
Rumors of weather.
It appeared as though he also had some weather outside.
Let's ask right now. Shreya is in Georgia. Would you like to share the rumors of weather in Georgia? I'll give you 4 seconds to give us the rumors of weather.
Super hot, super humid, and super sunny.
That was rumors of weather with Shreya Patel.
Yeah. And is that weather outside? Because that's the most important part.
It is. It is.
Yeah, very much like spiders, weather should not get onto the inside. If it does, you got to call somebody. Somebody does that. Somebody handles the weather when it gets inside. Anyway, this segment was brought to you by www.isthisacat.com, where you can very simply just upload a photo and find out if that is in fact a cat.
The
Back to you
average
guys.
human eats 2.5 spiders during their sleep in their lifetime.
Gross. I heard it was 8, but gross.
Every single day.
And every single day before I put my shoes on.
Paul was like,
I since I was like 5 years old, I turned my shoes upside down and I hit them together before I put them on. Every single time, every single day, I will not put my shoes on without turning them upside down and knocking them. Well, I don't want to put a round recluse on my foot, man.
Well,
fair enough.
We did that
if it
in
happens
Mexico.
to somebody, it's going to be me.
Yeah, we did that in Mexico because there were spiders everywhere, and
spiders are everywhere. They're not just in Mexico, bro. What do you think? You're in Australia? This is
spiders. Well, more than anything, there were scorpions we're in our small little town, so it's like we had to do that.
Welcome to Earth, guys. Welcome to Earth. There are all kinds of horrible shits, little crawling in your shoes all over. And I'm telling you to avoid them. Shake your shoes before when I go to take a shower. But when I get out of the shower, if you listen, you always hear a big whoop pop, because before I take and dry off, I go whoop pop with my towel, because you know why? I'm not going to smash a spider against my face.
Bobby,
I'm not going to do it.
And sometimes without a towel, he just goes whoop pop for no reason.
I do it because I don't want a spider on my. Sometimes I smash towels on my face for no reason, and I don't want there to be a spider in there. Right now,
I feel like you guys know a lot about each other. We're getting way off track. You must have met already.
Secret, David and I live together. David is my hetero life mate. I'm just saying.
By the way, Bobby,
guys, thanks for coming out. You know what?
By the way,
I have no boyfriends or girlfriends. I have only relationships, and
just creators.
Most of them are people who hate me. All I do is try to manage degrees of hate in my life.
Well, that's good to know for this group of people we'll be working with very shortly, Bobby.
That's right. Yeah. Well, they're all thinking, well, I hate you. Like right now, they're like,
and speaking of people
that hate me, Steven Cicerone. He hates me a lot because he was the very first person I ever told about this movie. Literally, was Steven Cicerone, because I put the casting call out. And he was already friends with me from something else I'd shot. And when he saw the casting call go out onto backstage, oh, I'm bringing Nevin Milan instead. So now Stephen will really hate me.
Speaking of people that hate me. Hello?
Hello?
Hey, Nevin Milan. We're bringing in Nevin Milan because I am a foul liar, and things moved around on my screen when I clicked.
There we go.
Hey! Hello.
Wrong.
So let me jump tracks, and I'm still trying to make Nevin hate me. So I'll put Steven on the back burner and turn up the pressure on his hate for a minute. Steven, how you doing out there, buddy?
Charming. I'm just sitting here I was watching the YouTube feed, and I was just like giggling away.
So Nevin Milan comes to us via David Ross, and so there's this unique thing happens in the creative world where casting is a blast, man. It's so much fun to put out a notice and see the flood of talented folks who are interested about your project and want to know more. And that's where you meet Paulo Luelmo and Azim Vecchio and Adam Freed and Shreya Patel. But then there's this other side of casting where you've got people like Mariah in your back pocket, you know, and you make them work like hell. Don't let them know they've got the part. But you and your associates know it. You just want to see if they're going to do their part. And then when we started working with Dave Ross, he said the same thing. He was like, man, the character of Ghost with Silent Knowledge Protects. I've got somebody. And if he wants to do it, we want him. We want him. And so he told me, he said, I reached out. He kept telling me about Nevin Milan, and I pulled up Nevin's picture, and David knows I've got this habit where I take and put my hands all over pictures on the screen. Like, yeah, that could be him. Yeah. Because I'm like looking at him with the makeup on and stuff. And like, hey, David, doesn't that look like what he could look like? And so when we brought Nevin in, and I just talked to him first. We hadn't even really heard him read his ghost yet. We just talked to him. I was like, yeah, that's him. David Ross is right. That's 100% him. He hardly has to do anything except put on the friggin' makeup. Oh, by the way, we are giving you a mohawk. I just wanted to get that out of the way.
Yeah.
Get that out of the way right now. Surprise. But no. Nevin is going to be amazing as Ghost with Silent Knowledge Protects. This is a key character in the movie. Like all the characters in Vengeance Turns, nobody is pure-blooded. Everybody is kind of like a mutt. Because I'm a mutt, and I wanted to inflict that into all my characters. I believe that's what being American is. And so with Nevin, though, his character, Ghost with Silent Knowledge Protects, is two tribes of native. And so it's interesting. His backstory and his conflict is interesting as well. But he gets beaten as a child and ends up with this kind of like jokery scar put into his face. And he decides to lean into it and embrace it. And in the movie, he will have this huge howling, growling wolf tattoo over his face that will be tremendous. But Nevin, will you take a second as we welcome you in, and will you tell us a little bit about what the character of Ghost means to you and why you agreed to come on board of this crazy adventure?
Yeah, sure. No, I mean, immediately when I read the character description, I was like, this is badass. This is cool. And then when we talked about the backstory, I don't know how much I don't know how much of that out there.
You're welcome.
Just the story behind, not only the evolution of him as a character, but the way his name also evolved, and that paralleled his story, and I thought that was really fascinating. And to be an outsider in your own home was something I so related to growing up. Someone multi-ethnic, multiracial, and then growing up in the Midwest, which was quite homogenous. And I always felt like an outsider. My brother and sister and I, we always talk about it. We felt like freaks growing up in some way, and to kind of find that much of a parallel with a character, I was like, wow, this is neat. You don't always find that much of a bridge into a character. And I was like, this is cool.
It's so cool you say that, though, because that's the parallel that I liked as well, is because like where Ghost, his being an outsider has made him a protector.
Right.
You very much seem that same way to me, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it definitely,
very much, yeah.
It's a nice little, beautiful little connection. I'm going to come back to you, man, because I want to talk to you more about that. I actually want to get David to get some artwork ready if we could to show.
Cool. Yeah.
That face, because it's gonna blow people's mind when they see what we do to you.
Yeah.
I was saying before about the female characters, and actually I brought up Steven's sister and the fact that he hates me. And Steven, keep hating, because I'm gonna make you wait again as I bring in Kelsey Jaffer. Kelsey Jaffer is and has been critical to this project since its beginning. And I'm going to take and put up a different background right now, because I want to show you guys. I'm going to flip a couple different ones as we do this today. This is the most recent one that Kelsey did for us.
Wow.
Kelsey's not just an actor. Kelsey's a painter.
Beautiful.
Kelsey's a singer. Kelsey's a musician. Kelsey, when I met her, she was one of the actors that David and I put through a very stupidly rigorous process to audition for the role of Mia the first time. But I'm glad that we did it, because we ended up with people like Kelsey in our pocket, and like as on our team, in our gang, in our army. You know what I mean? In our cult. And she truly brings personality to a cult of personality. Because like when we did the movie Taker, we had just met, and we were trying to still develop Vengeance Turns. And one second. She all of a sudden sends me a script. And she's like, here's the story I wrote. What do you think about that? And it was called, I don't remember what the original name was, Kelsey. Do you? CB4,
gosh.
something like that?
I have no idea. There were like so many names tossed back and forth.
Yeah. And so she sent it to me, and she's like, what do you think about this? And I was like, do you care if I take a stab on a rewrite? And she was like, no, please. And so we went back and forth. And so we both rewrote it, and we just kept passing it back and forth. And we called it Taker. And it was about an alien who, the whole thing about when aliens come and like people get the chip in the back of the neck and all that. We decided to explore that and twist it all around a little bit to where what it really was is these are interdimensional aliens, and their ship runs on human emotions, and that they're coming and extracting the emotions from people on Earth and leaving them as just like empty shells. And during the story, make a long story short, you guys are going to see it later. It's only 5 minutes that we get all this in. She does catch somebody who escaped from her during the extraction process, catches up to him. He's all confused, doesn't know what's going on. And she finishes it. She extracts his emotions and absorbs them. And once she does, it has a very profound impact on her. And so I won't spoil that. But Kelsey wrote that story, co-wrote the script, starred in the movie, wrote the music, and did the movie poster for it.
Oh, wow.
And the movie poster is incredible. I've shown it to people who are in the comic book world all over the place, and all of them have been impressed. It's one of those things that
that's awesome.
That people see it and they're always like, who did this? And I tell them the story I just told you, and they're like, and she's an actor instead of an artist. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, she can do anything she wants.
You can be both. You can be.
I'm trying my best to be both.
I hear you. I'm a multi-hatted artist as well. So I applaud you for those efforts.
There was a question on your guys' questionnaire that was there for a reason. And it said something about what else do you do? Everybody here is multi-talented. And I knew it. I knew who I was getting. People who are open-minded, people who are charity-minded, people that care about causes, people that do not exclude, people that are about inclusivity, finding reasons to join people and to bring them into the circle instead of reasons to reject them. Because as bad as I hate that motherfucking Donald Trump, I would still love to find a way to bring him into my life, to make him a better person. If he can't, I'll keep him at arm's length, just like I will anybody else like that. But I would like nothing more than for him to change. I would like nothing more than to bring him into my world. But not going to happen. Kelsey, tell us a little bit about Delicate Poison, because you have been a key part of the development of the character, and I'm going to throw some art maybe behind me, but I don't think it's going to fit. But tell them a little bit about what the character means to you.
So originally, as Bobby said, I had auditioned for the role of Mia a couple years back. And so Bobby had said to me, hey, and he's all sideways now, had said to me, hey, like, I don't want you for this role, but I have this other role that I'm working on developing. Would you be interested in that? And I was like, yeah. Like, I was like, this is a really cool project. I want to be a part of it no matter what. So over time and just like discussing what the first time we thought the movie was going to happen and it didn't, and then discussing changes for short stories and like little comics. And then for the podcast, like we developed the character of Delicate Poison together. She's an interesting character. And I think especially recently, she's like gained a lot more dimension. Maybe because I've been like looking at her with an intent that like this thing is happening now, like let's dig into the meat of it. But like, she's analytical. She's a little precocious for her age. She's like one of the youngest people at the Lost People camp, but she's just like kind of in charge. And so, but I do think she is a little bit afraid of things not being under her control.
Mm-hmm. Control freaks are in general.
Yep. She's a big control freak. She has the best intentions, but she definitely is. And she loves the people that are around her, but she also sees like how they can be used to achieve, right, to achieve her ends as well as their own. So she's like, how can we make both of these things happen? That's exactly it.
And it is interesting. Again, you were talking about being the youngest of the people at the Lost Camp, and that at least of the people in control. It's funny because as I started writing this, it was weird that all of a sudden I just started getting these gleeful moments of like, that defies convention, that defies convention, that defies convention, whether it was about female leads or this or that, or wiping out, no strong male characters lasting through the film. And then all of a sudden figuring out that the younger person was the smartest person, the most strategic and the most manipulative. And just turning things all around to where I'm trying to just break the whole story away from, while you do get a spaghetti Western, and it's a spaghetti Western through and through. If you start looking at all the individual pieces of it, it's like the difference between looking at a forest and looking at the trees. Do you know what I mean? He's like, no, but I'll say yes. I'm going to now bring in, because he's been very patient, unless he moves around on me again, I'm going to bring in Steven Cicerone, because we got to max out the hate. We can only let it go to a certain level, and then he'll bail on me, and I can't have that. So Steven Cicerone, do you hate me? Look at him. Look at that. That's hate. He is feeling the anger right now. Steven, how much do you hate me? On between a 1 and a 10 right now. Where are we at?
Let me tell you, I've eaten a few chocolate bars, so I am so cool.
Okay, right on. All right. Welcome.
Saved by the chocolate.
Saved by the chocolate bar. Good morning, Stephen.
Good morning, everyone.
And thank you for joining us last night, too. And Stephen popped in and out last night, and he got very rude. He laid down some very rude stuff before he left. So I don't know if you were in and out, but some pretty profane stuff dropped out of this guy's mouth last night. And it was about
I did not have my chocolate to calm me down.
I've never heard such language out of Steven Cicerone.
I've known this guy for almost 4 years, and I was just like, did he really just say that?
But, I'm going to be good today because it's daylight, and I don't want any children to hear anything.
I wish
there
I
were
had
preschool toys around. Yeah.
I wish I had a filter, man. I wish I had a filter. So Steven Cicerone is another unique individual like Kelsey and like some of these other folks who's been around for a long time on this project. Because like I said, I put a casting notice out on Backstage with this rigorous, like weird thing that I wanted actors to do to audition for Mia. And Steven was like, oh, I'm not doing any of that, but they don't have any male roles listed. So I'll just call Bobby instead because I know him. And so he sends me a text or an email and he's like, hey man, is this you? Because we had just met, but we started becoming friends. And I was like, yeah, that's me. And he was like, are you going to have any male roles? And I said, sure, we are. And he's like, could I be one of them? I said, you are the sheriff. I hadn't even written anything yet. I was just like, you are the sheriff. And so as I started writing the part of Sheriff Caleb Cartwright, that was who I was writing it around, was the fact that I would think about Steven saying these lines. And quite honestly, they were things like last night, Steven dropping some bombs that he'd never dropped on me before. I was planning on getting stuff, reactions and things out of Steven that I had not seen before. And that was one of the things I was looking forward to. And I think he was too, was us working together and challenging each other a little bit.
Absolutely.
And so, Steven, tell us though, why did you hang in there? Why have you been a hair and a biscuit on this project, man?
Well, I like the idea that the project was so female centric. I think there actually needs to be more movies like that. And so the opportunity to play in a movie like that was important to me. And also the action during a period type of, it's almost like, it's not like it's a documentary or anything, but I've played a lot of period roles during the Revolutionary time, and I've done some with the Renaissance. So this being, 1876, I think, was sort of a good time that I've never experienced before. And I like to bring reality to that.
Right on, man.
Cowboys, Westerns.
I'm going to come back around to you in a minute. I want to dig in and talk to you a little bit about Sheriff Caleb Cartwright in more detail, because as we both know, he's not exactly the most honorable or tough dude. And I want to see, knowing that, what appeals to you on that and what you thought was a challenge. But I'm going to come back to you, because right now I keep talking about small characters. It's weird. Vengeance Turns, while it's a big movie about a couple of big characters, these guys, Mia and Simon, it really is a big movie about a big story for them. It's also a big movie with a lot of little stories going on through there. And because I've been writing since I was like 7 years old and I'm obsessed with structure, David will tell you I'm obsessed with structure. I talk about structure all the time when we talk about writing, whether it's his writing or stuff from other writers that we see. I talk about act structure and the way things connect and all this, and that people's stories don't finish, and that bugs me. And so I wanted to make sure, man, that I did as much resolution and as much full character development as I could, even on little bitty roles for characters that are in this story. And so I'm getting ready to bring in what I call the biddies for this. And the first one is not exactly, she doesn't play traditionally the biddies. She was also in the podcast. Her name's Jess B. And she plays a particular biddy because she's actually the wife. So I'm getting ready to bring in. Yeah, listen to those golden tones. We're bringing in, this is Jess B. She plays Mrs. Cartwright. So she's the wife of Sheriff Caleb Cartwright in the movie. Good morning, Jess.
Hey,
Good morning.
And Jess, like I was saying about somebody else's while ago, throws a major curve in this movie because I'm not going to tell you what it is, but she's a big prime mover in the movie. She's there for only a split second, but she does one of the most important things ever.
Yeah.
And she's definitely one of the biddies because she executes very biddy lipsmanship at her husband. But Jess was in the podcast as well. Jess, if you listen to the podcast, she's all over the place. She plays Mrs. Coppersmith. And then she plays Edward Falcone. She is adorable as Edward Falcone. And then she plays other characters as well. But tell us, Jess, you only are in character or only on screen for a second. So tell us why. What appeals to you about Mrs. Cartwright?
Yeah, the fact that you said, she's a very small but very vital role. She is definitely, she comes out and does a very big surprise in the movie. But I think what is so special about her is because she is such a small character, but it goes with a theme of female empowerment and just strong female characters, and especially opposite the sheriff, who is a little weak in a sense. She's just such a strong character and just a strong opposite to him.
Personally, spoiler alert. Personally, I blame your character for his weakness. I believe he was a good, strong man, and you ground him down like he turned to the bottle. He was like, "Yeah, whatever, honey. You have another kid, whatever."
He must have needed it. I know. How many kids do we have now? Is one on the way?
I'm thinking 12, 13. This is good farmer.
Okay.
Must be the chocolate.
You got those good farmer birthing hips.
Well, you're definitely gonna see them.
Thank you for joining us, Jess. I am going to bring in the other biddies, and I love calling them that because it's so sexist, and you get to do that when you're making something about 1876 and taking no 2020 heat. So let me bring in a gal that I worked with on Perry Mason and tell you a little bit about how we got together. This is Kate Comstock. We were talking about levels of hate earlier. Degrees of hatred for Bobby. It's like there's 6 degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon.
I am going to bring in the other biddies.
The golden tones. The golden tones. Oh, whenever I hear that voice, my heart skips a beat.
Golden tones of Robert C. Smith.
Exactly.
I'll be right back.
Oh, my God. With Kate, and we're talking about, like I said, 6 degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon, 6 degrees of hatred of Bobby Smith or whatever. Kate, she always surprised me because when you work with people in a confined area, like Stockholm Syndrome style, you either learn to love them or hate them. And we worked on Perry Mason for several weeks together as the jury. And I had a close up.
Always bringing it up.
And that was the main reason they made that show, by the way, was to get that on screen. But Kate and I sat in the jury box for weeks together, and it was hot. It was uncomfortable. They called us in just to be an eye line for Matthew Reese. Of course, Kate had it better than me. She was union and would tease me with fresh fruit and things like that. She'd be like, "I bet you're hungry," and so maybe that's helped control the hate, what mitigated the hate. But we sat next to each other for weeks on end, and instead of growing to hate each other, we just grew to love each other. I got to learn about her family and see stuff about her kids, way too much, in fact, about feeding schedules and breast pumps and like blocking people and and bringing her biscuits out of my pocket and things like that. So Kate has joined us on a couple of table reads with Cabin Fever Radio novellas. And again, it's like we were saying earlier, that unique thing that happens when you're in this world. When we started talking about casting and we'd gotten through a lot of the casting for like Mia and stuff, I just said, "Oh, don't worry about Mrs. Coppersmith. Let me reach out real quick." And I've sent Kate a message on Instagram, I think. And I was like, "Hey, what do you think?" And she was like, "How much will you pay me? I am SAG after all." And she didn't say that. She said, "Yes, of course." And she came on board. And then last night, she's been more than a benefit because she did a table read with us yesterday. She came on last night and played music. I don't know if you guys saw the music hour, but the music hour was incredible. I was blown away, man.
I shouldn't be muted for that clap. Thank you so much for doing the music hour.
I lost people like Paula Luelmo. If you look at her, she looks like she's 14, but she's actually about 150 years old. So she does tend to go to bed around 4 p.m. She and her husband eat.
Stop, Bobby.
She said they eat supper around 3:30 in the afternoon, and then they go to bed around 4.
Supper.
And so we lost
that tracks.
Her.
I mean, you got to be able to sleep in once in a while.
Guys, no, I go to sleep at 10. And it was 9:30. I haven't walked my dogs, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
She literally sent me a picture of her looking at her watch, going like that.
Okay.
Yeah, tap tap tap. And I told her, like I told everybody throughout this, I said, "Man, you guys, I'm so blown away by everything that every one of you guys are willing to do to help us promote this, to promote the movie, and to promote the Kickstarter, and to try to get you guys increased on what you're getting paid and stuff." That I said, forget it, And so that's what's the thing about people like Kate coming in and then singing and stuff, is that it's mind blowing that people want to commit that much to it. And Kate coming and agreeing, I lost her, didn't I? But her agreeing to.
Here.
No, she's still here.
I'm here.
Oh, I've got her. I've got something over your face, darling. Sorry.
Oh well.
It helps if you click you just move the thing around to the gallery view, and then you can see everybody.
I am. I'm putting it over you.
Wait, what was that, Bobby? You were cutting in and out a little bit. We got some weather outside.
What were you saying?
Nothing.
But it was a natural thing for me to want to have Kate join us. And so, Kate, will you tell us why why would you subject yourself to this? Why would you inflict me on yourself again?
For the biscuits. I mean, I can't go wrong with biscuits and gravy from your pocket.
There will be biscuits. There will be biscuits.
No, I mean, I had such a great time working with you on Perry Mason, and I could tell you were very talented and dedicated to everything that you do. So when you contacted me, I was like, yeah, of course, I'd love to be in your film. So yeah, and I'd heard so much about it. Well, in between takes and chatting, and I don't know, when you're waiting in line for lunch and all that kind of stuff.
Is that weird to you guys who have been cast for this to hear that we were working on Perry Mason a year ago, basically?
Yeah, actually, I guess it was, wasn't it? Almost. Yeah.
And so that's when I brought Kate into the madness. I've been doing nothing but talk about this thing for about 3 years. That's what I'm trying to show you. That's the evidence.
Yeah.
That's where that little Asperger-y part of me comes in too. Is like I meet new people and I like them. Like, let me show you what I'm doing. Here's all my toys. I start dumping them out. Take a look at these. And I did. I started every day. Like as I got to trust people like Kate and Sean Hartman and stuff, I started really, because she showed pictures of her kids and stuff. That's how it went. She was like, here's what I love. And she's like, show me her husband and her kids. And I'm like, let me show you what I love. And I show them a picture of me with a beard like this.
I know.
And they're like, why did you do that? And I'm like, interesting story. Let me tell you.
And he did.
And if you've heard me on any of the story reads or anything, I like telling stories, baby. Bobby likes to tell the stories. Bobby likes it. And so it's great to have Kate join us. Now,
exactly. She doesn't play traditionally the biddies.
Oh yeah. You can turn that up. That's next. I just got sidetracked because I heard something that I love, my voice, and now I'm gonna bring in Stacy Turner, the last of the biddies. And when I say the last of the biddies, she is not the least of the biddies. Stacy Turner, come on in.
Hey, hi.
We got Stacy Turner as part of our casting process when we put this notice out on Backstage and on Actors Access Breakdown Express. And literally, she was the first person that David showed me, and I told him to stop. I told him to stop before her audition started. True story. He was showing me her interview. It started her audition. We had everybody. Again, we had people do ridiculous shit when Kelsey interviewed. We lowered the bar and made it just a little bit ridiculous with this time. And we asked everybody to do an interview and stuff like that. So we get to know them a little bit better. Stacy did her interview. And before she got done, I told David, I went, that's her. And he was like, keep watching. And I watched and I was like, oh God, man. And she just absolutely attacks the screen with personality. It's so crazy. She was not what I was thinking about when I first wrote Mrs. Payne, but now she's the only thing I think about when I think of Mrs. Payne. It's weird how that happens. She became the character in my mind and nothing else would do. She, like Paula, like so many, set the bar. No one cleared it. I told David to forget it. We hired her and that's it. Welcome, Stacy.
Oh, thank you. At first I didn't know you were talking about me.
Hell yeah. Hell to the yeah. So tell us, Stacy, a little bit about you and just really why would you agree to do this character? What is it about this small character that you thought, I want that?
Well, I love playing strong characters, and also, the opportunity to shine the light on racism is something I couldn't pass up right now at all. And I'm new to film, basically too, so I'm happy to be in another movie.
And you need to be on screen. I'll tell you that. You have a presence, and I've talked about this a few times now. And I don't know, honestly, I don't know if you guys have been watching, all of you guys, because I don't expect you to. It's 48 hours. David and I signed up for this madness, and we did not expect you guys to sit there in front of your computers going, "Yep, they are crazy."
I'm currently asleep with my eyes open.
But
just a quick weather update. There is still some weather outside. And also, please feel free to visit www.vengeanceturns.com, www.48hourtelethon.com, as well as www.
Cabin Fever.
Where is this a cat?
Indiegogo.
Our Indiegogo, our Patreon. All the links will be in the description.
Yeah, jump in there, donate to the movie, or invest in the movie or whatever, help us get this thing made. And then also, if you got a sec, tip out to the other charities, but not until our little bit's over.
And that was Rumors of Weather with Dave Ross.
That was Rumors of Weather. Back to you guys in the real world. It's lame there.
Let's check out across the country. Kelsey Jaffer, you're calling in from Chicago. Let's give Kelsey 5 seconds to give us Rumors of Weather in Chicago. Kelsey?
The weather is great here. It's about 80 and sunny, humidity.
Wow, thank you for those rumors of weather in Chicago, Kelsey. That's fascinating stuff. Mariah, where are you dialing in from?
Hollywood.
That's fascinating. Thank you, Mariah. That's really fascinating.
Like 100 degrees here. It's not that fascinating.
I didn't give you a countdown. Shush.
Hollywood doesn't need weather updates.
Fair.
But we don't. It's like there's a comedian named Bill Hicks back. He's dead now.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. But he used to talk about. He was from Texas and he moved to LA, and he used to talk about all the time that he couldn't get used to it out here, and the people out here are like, that we like it because there's no weather, and he was like, "You're fucking lizards." Sorry for the cussing. I had a point a while ago. I lost it, and I don't care. But what I do want to do is I want to talk about one of our interesting little things about this movie.
Oh.
if you can't tell what it is,
the tooth.
It's a tooth.
And if you're feeling hungry, there's nothing like. We'll pick me up.
It will be available
Just a little pick
on our merch site because it's a chocolate tooth. Speaking of chocolates, Steven, like chocolates, this is white chocolate candied teeth.
And we're going to call them Gloria's teeth. We're going to have 3 different ones, but the regular clean teeth is what I just ate.
Yeah.
And I have the good news of telling you we already have distribution for that candy.
Yay!
So there really has been a lot of really intricate, weird behind the scenes coordination going on with all of this stuff for so long that it's incredible. And again, I want to thank everybody for joining me here. Thank you guys for accepting the roles that you took in Vengeance Turns. I wanted to, at some point, give you guys an opportunity to ask me a question. If you have any questions for me, hold on a minute. But before I did that, I also want to loop back around and talk to you guys because we're going to be showing movies and clips and videos and stuff from you guys, and I want to hear from each of you guys and give you kind of your own little platform. And during that time, guys, you don't have to talk about Vengeance Turns. You don't have to talk about me or anything like that. If you want to take and really dig into other aspects of your career and things that are exciting going on and other filmmakers that you like working with, we don't mind a bit. So be thinking about that. But for right now, what I want to do is kind of loop back around and ask you guys, just again, try to keep them brief because we do have so many of you guys. But I wanted to hear from you. What in one word, let's do this because I know it'll be brief. In one word, let me go around the room and ask you guys, in your opinion, what is the story of Vengeance Turns about in one word, and revenge is off the table? Ha. So
that's a lot of rules, Bobby. You can't just put people on the spot like that.
And of course, it makes it easy. You can sit there and 8 people if you think they give a good answer or whatever. But don't do that. And if you want me to,
Can
I'll
you give
go
us
first.
like a phrase? Can we be allowed one phrase?
Get jiggy with it. If you want to, if you want to, if you want to get all crazy and add some adverbs and adjectives or a couple, throw even a little bit of a predicate in there, man. Do it.
5 words.
Predicate my ass. But let's start with the star of the movie because I really do care, and I think the audience will care too. If you were to put it in just a word or a couple of words, Mia, what would you say if revenge is off the table? What is the story of Vengeance Turns about?
Family.
That's the same thing I was going to say.
I think we're all
yeah, I think everybody was.
Everybody's like, damn, Bobby, why'd you let her go first? And Paula's like, I'm the star. I win. Good luck, everybody else. I agree. Look at his team. I'm gonna have to come back to it because he's right now. He's like,
yeah, you just took.
I did want to do him next. I'm gonna jump to Adam though because Adam I think has got an answer. Adam, what is the story of Vengeance Turns about if revenge is off the table?
Vindication.
Ooh. See, he's taking a side door and going right past it. I like that.
Family was taken. And
I like it. I like that.
On family, so okay.
I like that. I'm gonna talk to one of the villains, Mariah. If you had to ask what is, or if in one word and you can't use revenge, what is the story about?
I would say growth.
I like that too. I watched Nevin, so I was going to Nevin next. I'll skip him, so I'll give him a chance.
No, I got something if you
okay,
want.
Nevin, Ghost with Silent Knives Protects. If it was one word or a couple words, what would you say, man? What's the story about?
I would say love, and not necessarily romantic love, but all the different facets of that.
I agree.
Can go hand in hand with family and growth.
I agree. I like that answer, man.
Cool.
Now you took Azim's, and he's like, "Damn, guys." So I'm gonna pop down to one of the other stars, somebody who really helped me develop this movie, and Kelsey. What do you think, Kels? What's this story about in your eyes? Because you've been with me and talking to me a lot about it.
I would say it's about reclamation.
Ooh, I like that too. Reclamation.
That's a level 2 spelling bee word.
There it is.
For you guys.
Like, I'll give everybody the thing from Westworld. Just say, look it up, people. I love saying that. I must have said that 10 times during the Westworld read yesterday. I'd say something like, even flit. I'm like, it's a good word. Look it up. Azim.
Yes.
What do you think, man?
I think, I can do a phrase.
Yeah.
I think creating your own environment.
Okay. I absolutely would agree with that. Creating your environment, creating your world.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Your environment. Yeah.
Shreya, what do you think? What is Gloria's opinion on that? What is this movie about to Gloria? It's not revenge.
Well,
what is it?
Well, from Gloria's perspective, it's like she kind of also inspires her behavior throughout the film. So I was going to say restraint. Like everything is so over the top with Gloria, and then whenever she's around and the lost people.
Interesting. I think that is really interesting because of the fact that so much of it's about like the way of showing love, or by showing peace, by showing all the violence in the movie,
right?
By showing how out of control Mia is, and that weird thing that's going on with Gloria and Delicate in the middle. That's beautiful. There is a whole,
and it's like a microcosm of like what goes on in the real world. Like this is a film, but really it's happening in the real world, and it's like.
Agreed. Steven Cicerone, what would you say, dude? You've been in the project for a long time. If it was one word and it wasn't revenge, what would you say that word or phrase is?
I would say a few of them have been used before. So retaliation, and maybe with a sub piece of it being intimidation, and from the perspective of the sheriff, fear.
Okay. Fear. I love that. There is a whole subtext of fear in this. Fear of losing your family, fear of other. The whole thing about prejudice, Stacey was talking about that there's this undercurrent of fighting racism in this story. My opinion, as growing up in Kentucky and just experiencing walls of racism and walls of exclusion, was the fact that all of that is rooted in fear. The second that people let go of fear of other, no matter what that is that they're afraid of, that thing that they think they hate, no matter what it is, they don't hate it. They probably hate their own dealing with it. That's why people need to look in the mirror a lot more often.
Sure.
Good thing, man. Jess B, what do you think?
Girl power.
Girl power. I would say that. Absolutely. I would absolutely agree. Girl power. Girl power. Stacey Turner, what do you think? One word, it's not revenge.
Inequality.
Absolutely. Male, female, black, white, native, indigenous, versus invaders, settlers and stuff like that. I count myself an invader. It's kind of wild. But I like that. Inequality. David, what would you say, bro?
I would say community. Yeah.
Whether they're good or bad communities, Yeah. Ross, what do you think, dude? You're newer but very passionate about it.
I think that some families happen to you, and that others you choose.
Yeah, I think that there is a big thing about choice, and that goes with what Azim was saying about creating your environment. That there's a big thing about choice in this movie, and about the decisions that you make. And so that you guys know, and we won't take too much time on my philosophy because a lot of it shows through in the script anyway. But I've always had a big feeling about two words that are really closely related, and that is fate and destiny. You know? And people, for me, confuse them. They overlap them, and they use fate and destiny interchangeably. And I've always thought of them as being completely different, but related. Fate, for me, is what happens in your life with you unable to control it. So the events of your life are shoved down your throat second by second by some outside force, whatever you want to call it. To me, and whether you want to call it God or what, so you can bring this into religion if you want to, however you want, and deal with it yourself. Not me, but the side of destiny for me is more about, it's still very similar. You still are where you are, but where you are is a result of the ongoing stream of decisions that you have made leading you to this point and that continues leading you forward. So rather than it just being shoved down your throat, it's the ongoing summation of everything you believe, say, and do. That to me is destiny. Do you know what I mean? And I think that people need to take control of their destiny. And that's the thing, is that fate to me makes, when I hear people talk about, oh man, it's just fate that happened. I'm always like, so you basically believe you have utterly no control in your life. Whereas when I hear somebody say, I think it's my destiny to make that happen, I key into that. And I believe that person. Do you see?
You know what I like?
Eggs.
Chocolate. Cats.
www.isthisacat.com. Just go and check. And also, quick weather update. There is some outside, but it's still outside. Yeah.
Yes. And that was Rumors of Weather with Dave Ross.
Back to you in the studio.
Stacey, where are you calling us up from today? How's the weather out there? Where are you from? Where are you calling from, huh?
Los Angeles.
Los Angeles, huh? How's the weather in Los Angeles? I'll give you 3 seconds to give us the rumors of weather in Los Angeles starting now.
Heat wave.
That was Stacey Turner with Rumors of Weather in Los Angeles. Thank you, Stacey. Guys, don't forget that we are actually trying to get the people on screen right now. These people mean the world to me because these people are bringing my vision to life. This thing that you heard Kate saying that I was talking about for a year ago on the set of Perry Mason, the thing that I was talking about the night I met David Ruano on Thanksgiving of 2016, the thing that I was talking about in 2017 when I put up the casting notice and started talking to Kelsey and Steven Cicerone about it. You guys are bringing my vision to life, and I can't thank you enough. And I can't thank you for agreeing to do it under the circumstances that we are doing it, from COVID to, minimal amounts of pay and things like that. And I want this Kickstarter, the Indiegogo, the crowdfunding, all of our efforts. I want it to work. I want it to work. I don't care if I get 1 penny from the Indiegogo that we're producing. I don't care if absolutely 1 cent of that goes to any of my personal needs. I want it to go to your guys. I want it to increase the amount Paula is paid. I want it to increase the amount that Azim, Adam, Mariah, Shreya, Nevin, Jess, Steven, Kelsey, Steven, Kate, all these people. I want your pay to increase. I want the production value of the movie to increase. A couple little things that we would like to do. Like one of the things we've been talking about is buying a duty dolly. It's a really kind of unique little piece of equipment that we would love to get our hands on. We can shoot the movie without
hold on, Bobby. We don't need a duty dolly. That's you know what I mean? That's so expensive. I'm gonna go to IKEA and get the shelves. You know what I mean? The shitty shelves. They come with the triangle metal thing, and then I'll get some rollerblades. We got it.
I was explaining to Dave Ross yesterday, my alternate method is I am buying him some wheelies. And we are going to put him in a box, put a box around him, cut out the bottom, have his wheelies out the bottom, and then put the camera in his hand.
I have Heelys. Well, it's a skateboard, but I have
there it is. Yeah, Heelys, but that's it. The shoes that also are with the wheel. Yeah, Heely wheelie.
That way I can spread out like a wheeler. I'm Return to Oz status. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't know if you watched that one.
Yeah, and so
don't if you haven't. It's nightmare.
That's what we've been saying. The movie will get made. It's just the level of tech that we're going to bring to the screen.
Nobody has to know that you've got cameras on roller skates.
That's right. That's right. Save us from the roller skates. But go to Indiegogo. It's
There's
live
the
right
hashtag. Save us from roller skates. I bet there's a statistic of how many people are accidentally harmed by roller skates in this country every year. Well, fun fact, that number earlier that 6 for umbrellas.
I heard a rumor earlier that the average human eats 2.5 spiders in their sleep.
Every single day.
Somebody said that.
That's not true.
Somebody floated
right?
that. Somebody
said
floated
it was
that
2.
to the group. and I don't know who it was.
Yeah.
People are saying, I'm going to use a Trump thing. People are saying
I see.
that the average human swallows 2.5. I don't know if that's true. I think there's good and bad people on both sides of that argument. But
like spiders, the weather should not be inside.
People are saying it. I'm anti-spider, but I'm not anti whether you eat the spider or you don't eat the spider. That's up to you, folks.
Who would be?
So I do want to go back around real quick, and because we're going to come up on the film festival pretty quick, and I appreciate you guys taking time out of your day to be here. Again, I can't take exactly a ton of time, and I would love it if you guys had any questions you wanted to ask me to let you ask me. But real quickly, let's just pop around. I may not make it to everybody. Forgive me if I don't. I'm going to try. But I'm going to ask a couple people, what scene are you most looking forward to either seeing or shooting? Either one. You take your choice. Kelsey, you've been with the project for a long time. What do you think? What scene are you really looking forward to either seeing it up on the screen finally or shooting it, being a part of it?
Oh man, I think the scene I'm looking the most forward to being part of, I don't want to say it because it would be a spoiler.
Spoil it.
Okay.
There's a podcast out there right now.
True.
www.vengeanceturns. Go see the story right now.
The podcast is available, and we tell the whole story.
That's true.
There are surprises in the movie.
If you all want to avoid spoilers, plug your ears for 30 seconds. But otherwise, so it's the scene where we find out that Delicate Poison has just poisoned her brother. And like, she's like, girls trip, but like at what cost?
That scene the other day in rehearsal gave me chills, you guys. That scene gave me chills. So she's right. Azim, what scene are you looking forward to putting on the screen as Simon, or maybe you're even more looking forward to seeing somebody else's scene hit the screen? Up to you, man.
Yes. Well, I have answers for both. I'll just make
Lay
it
it
quick.
on. Super.
I'm really looking forward to creating the last scene.
Yeah.
Omega. Yeah. I think it's gonna, yeah. And I'm really looking forward to actually seeing the saloon. And
Me too.
And it's just the action that goes on there.
Me too. And it's going to be neat. We were talking about this the other night, and not to exactly spoil it. It's kind of spoiled if you listen to the podcast, but we were talking about with locations and would this certain thing work instead of what I was actually asking about of it within the thing with having a balcony. And I was like, well, could we actually like put a balcony up on a wall and just make it look like there's a place for them to go behind it? I said, because I'm kind of like obsessed with the idea of the prostitutes firing down into the saloon. You know, it's a small thing, but I kind of want that to happen. Thank you, man. I agree with you on both those. Mia, you're the star. You're Rebecca. You're Mia. You've got some of the most fascinating and complex scenes and the most horrifying scenes, delivering them and receiving them. What to you, either or both, do you most look forward to putting on the screen or seeing on the screen, or both?
Well, seeing on the screen, I want to see when Gloria tortures Boots.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be amazing. And also when the prostitutes just start shooting all these dudes, that's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
And to film, I'm really excited to kill the man who Mia believes is Jefferson. I think that's going to be
during the Bronson scene that Rob was talking about. Yeah. That way that we're going to shoot it, especially, is going to, that I won't spoil.
I
won't spoil that, but it's going to be really cool.
Bobby, sorry, real quick production meeting. Well, no, listen, I don't want to spoil it. I just wanted to see if I could submit the idea that Rob wear that costume in the movie.
I told you it's done. At the end of it, I've been rewriting the ending, and there are aliens showing up now.
Okay, all right. Well, you got it then.
And now it actually is Wolverine. All right. All right. So let me jump over to Adam Freed. Adam, what scene in the movie, because you have one of the most impactful scenes in the movie, is it that? Or you can do both like these other guys. What do you most want to see on the screen, or what most are you looking forward to bringing to the screen?
Well, out of pure joy of being an actor and wanting to I get shot, impaled by a spear.
You get it bad,
my head blown off. So I feel like this is definitely a career first for me to have that opportunity. I'm really looking forward to getting to make that scene happen. But I think the scene that I think feels the most impactful is the last man that Mia takes vengeance on, because he's kind of like the worst. And so the feeling of just getting to see her kind of win in the end, spoiler alert, it's going to be so awesome.
Oh yeah, you can put that spoiler out there because, like I said, for me, spoiler alert, it was important to literally kill the dude twice. Like I thought that he deserved it. Do you know what I mean? And it was important that both. And again, I hate spoiling this, but they can hear it on the podcast. But it was important for me that Mia and Simon both get to kill him. You know what I mean? It's weird because if you see the story or you listen to the story, you'll hear what I mean. But it literally happens. They both get to kill him. It's really cool. And I made a weird decision on that, you know. And I went a little bit into horror territory when I did that. A little bit off the map of reality. But yeah, I really look forward to Adam, the scene he's talking about that he's in when his head gets blown off is gonna be really neat because at that point he'll literally be standing beside me and looking down at whatever, you know, we've got down there on the ground as him with its head blown off. And it's gonna be pretty neat. I'm going, well, I'm glad that's not me. Nevin, you have some of the most cool scenes too, man. And one of the things you and I talked about is some of the cool scenes with Ghost that he's either a part of or even in tangent of is the fact that whether he's talking or not is the presence that he brings to the screen. So I was wondering what you thought as far as, was it a scene with you in it and what you're doing? What do you look forward to seeing or bringing to the screen or both?
I'm really looking forward to that warrior circle scene, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I think that's
the fight.
Fun. I think
it's gonna be a blast, honestly.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. I also think you know, the training for that scene is gonna be a lot of work. To see it come to fruition on screen is gonna be really fulfilling, not only as an actor, but I think, you know, as filmmakers and collaborators and storytellers will be really fun.
Totally. And we will get you guys together. I was thinking about this the other day. We'll get together like probably the very, very, very first day of shooting when we all get together. And we'll do it'll probably be exhausting anyway, just getting together, but we'll probably get together that day and have a lot of the physical stuff start getting mapped out and choreographed. Yeah. So I'll probably get you guys together that very day to at least start looking at how you guys want to approach some of, because we're not gonna have you fight the whole time. We're just gonna map it out for the shot and say, you know, here's where Mia jumps past him or tries to kick him and stuff like that. But we'll at least start getting you guys to think about how that's working and going on from there.
Yeah, and I think down the line, I'll probably get on the line with Paula. You know, we'll talk about it offline. But yeah, I mean, we'll figure out what
cool.
we make happen to.
That's the reason I made that contact list. I was hoping you guys would all take advantage of that, start reaching out to each other.
Sure.
Well, one of the things that Paula says, she's looking forward to the scene with Gloria torturing Boots. As the writer, again, I'm looking forward to that because Amanda challenged me to write a scene with a bit. That was just the thing. My co-writer said, we challenge each other all the time. We come up with little things and say, see if you can do this. And so she said, imagine a horse bit for a horse. And can one of the characters use that to get information? I said, oh yeah, they can. And so I took and wrote that scene. But I'm really looking forward to the scene where they meet Gloria. That's me. That's to me, that's so much about what I've been wanting to film for so long is just the scene where Mia and Delicate are sitting there and Gloria shows up and she's dragging this cat and then she starts bashing his face in. And you got this whole confrontation between Mia and Gloria competing for Delicate's attention and Delicate trying to keep everything even and keep everybody on track. And to me, it's just so much about what's good in the movie happens right there. And it's brutal as well. It's one of those 5 or 6 really brutal scenes that I was talking about. Gloria gets a couple. But having said that, Gloria, what do you say, Shreya, about
my answer? You took my answer. I was like, man, that is my favorite. Like, I'm so excited for the three of us. And that scene, it's a long scene. Like from when we meet all the way to, you know, where we end up. And it's a nice journey. Like we meet up and we kind of get to know each other and a part of a lot of things happening. And really it's just like once the three of us are together, yeah, there's that dynamic of the relationship, but it's like all three of us really have the same goal in mind. And that's just it, you know, vengeance. And then the scene that I'm probably most excited to see is when Rebecca becomes Mia.
There's been a couple of really cool scenes as far as, that we have planned for Paula, and she's a champ for sticking through all of it. But yeah, it's really neat. The scene with Gloria in her introduction, she talked about being a long scene. I was really inspired by Robert Rodriguez in Desperado with the character of Gloria, and the fact that we hear about her and feel her presence a lot. And then she's made up to be such a badass and a big deal the whole time. And then she literally ends up running away. She ends up leaving the movie. She's built up as being, okay, once we get Gloria into this thing, it's all going to be good. And then Gloria, something happens, delicate poison. She's like, out of here. So it's really interesting to build a character up as being the real badass savior and then watching them split. And in Desperado, they talk about all the way through the movie, these two assassins coming in to make things right. Those assassins finally show up on the screen and they get dispatched in like 2 minutes. It's pretty wild the way that Rodriguez handles that. Let's see. Stacey Turner, what do you think? What are you looking forward to seeing on the screen, or what do you look forward to bringing to the screen?
Well, I'm looking forward to the saloon scene at the end and seeing these women warriors suddenly all dressed up and me oh my and dressed like a saloon. Gloria's a saloon character. That's, I don't know, visually that's tickles I like that idea.
Just B?
Everyone said the saloon. Very much looking forward to that, but also because it was such a mind trip in the podcast, the hallucination scene.
Oh yeah. The hallucination thing. There's a couple of scenes that when I wrote them were contentious with my co-writers, and the one of the contentious scenes was the hallucination scene. I got a lot of pushback about the fact that I just don't want to put anything in there that's that unreal. And I was like, I cannot let her transform without having some kind of catalyst, some kind of scene that brings her out of the real world for a minute, because it's too much of a transformation, you know? And so we pushed back and finally developed the scene the way that we thought it would work. So it is one of my very favorites, and it is going to be mind bending. And if you guys don't know, Dave Ross is going to be playing the voice in darkness. He is going to play this big badger standing in front of a spotlight or something. Dave, you popped in. Did you have any thoughts of stuff that you want to see put on the screen?
I'll tell you, one of the things I'm most looking forward to in any project that I get involved with, where I feel passionate about it. I feel like we got the right people. You know what I mean? You people are amazing. Thank you so much for jumping on here. Thank you so much for joining the live. Thank you so much for participating in the project of Vengeance Turns. I lost track of what I was saying.
The scene you want to put up there. Scene you want to see.
The thing I want to see the most. I cannot wait until I see it. Is this stuff after the movie?
So he's more of a BTS
what I mean?
guy.
I want to see the documentary. I'm a behind the scenes guy, man, but I cannot wait to see the gag reel for this.
So did you guys know? I mean, because we've been talking about it again. I'm not expecting you guys to watch all this, but you do know that the whole 48-hour telethon and everything we're doing, it serves a double purpose. Because I always try to I milk everything for as much as I can. And so while we make Vengeance Turns, we're making the making of Vengeance Turns. We're very meta about this. The making of Vengeance Turns. And so we're going to be telling the whole story from inception to filming. And that's one of the reasons why we told everybody you can film and take pictures while we're on set and everything, is because we're going to get all that stuff. And when we finally put together a documentary that'll come out about the same time as the movie, and you guys will get paid on that too, then we'll have a lot of footage. Is this a cat?
Yes.
See, it works.
If you put my picture in it, it'll say cool cat.
That's true. It's verifiable.
Let me hear from Mariah Hart, because I think I've heard from everybody else. I think I skipped her only. And Mariah, what scene do you look forward to most seeing or portraying, putting onto the screen, or both?
I think like everybody, I'm super excited for that saloon scene. I think it's just going to be a shit show of like guns and yelling and screaming and prostitutes. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, you cannot have a bad time if prostitutes have guns. It's like it's actually a written rule of filmmaking. It's like, you know.
And then I'm not in that many scenes, so I think that last scene, and just like seeing it afterwards and seeing if I'm like
make your switch.
Yeah, that's what I'm excited for. I'm excited for the switch.
You'll make the switch.
I will.
You'll pay. I'll come after you with these
Bobby
cardboard.
gets completely out of the movie. He's like, no.
This is real cardboard. Don't make me use it.
Horrified.
That I believe, and guys, the only person we're missing this morning is Jamal Gardner, and I believe he had something else that was kind of keeping him delayed, but it's something important. So I just want to mention that Jamal Gardner is also a part of this, and like Kelsey, like Steven Cicerone, like David Ruano, he has been a part of this since I started it. I met Jamal Gardner on the set of a Disney TV show. We were the only two older guys. We were there to be their beard guys, to be the scruffy dudes. And it's one of the things that was lucky, man, because we could have hated each other. You know what I mean? If you've ever been on a closed set for a whole day with somebody you don't like, it's not fun. And the fact that we liked each other allowed us to just sit around and bullshit the entire day about Westerns. And like I said, the whole thing that people know, it's like all I talk about is making this Western. And so from the very first time I thought of it, he was there and I was telling him. And so we started talking about what we would want to see in a bad guy, you know, and what that bad guy should be like. And so when I started writing Jefferson, I was just literally writing it for Jamal. I was just writing Jamal Gardner's opposite onto the screen because Jamal Gardner's got a heart the size of the LA area, man. It is massive, this guy's heart. He is the sweetest, most gentle, loving, and giving generous person you're ever going to meet. And when he puts Jefferson on the screen, he's going to make people shit their pants. Do you know what I'm saying? The character is terrifying. The way that Jefferson treats Simon in this movie will make every parent reassess the way they treat their children and especially fathers, and what they're pushing their sons to do to prove their manhood. That was my goal with Simon and Jefferson, is to get dads everywhere to sit there and think, what am I telling my kid when I tell him this is what it means to be a man? If you want to be a man, if you want to be a man, if you want to be a man, you'll do this, you'll do this, you'll do this. And let them see how that feels to a kid that's put up in a situation mega exponential to the just torture levels of that. Let's flip it around, you guys. And you don't have to, because we still have other things that we can bring back around to you. But I am curious because it's something I'm always wanted to do as a filmmaker and as the writer and as the director. If you have questions about the inspiration, the writing, your character's connection to another character, the comic, the ancillary, the marketing, the sequels, the prequels, anything at all that you think has to do with Vengeance Turns, that you think I have the answer as the keeper of the flame or whatever, I would love it if you guys would, if you have questions and you wanted to ask me now in front of God and everybody, I'm here to answer them and tell you the truth.
Is Ghost going to get a comic?
Ghost will not be the only person getting a comic book.
Okay, because that would be super cool.
There is a comic book story already that's been completed, written, lettered, everything with Ghost with Silent Knives. We had it originally out as a web comic. We're going to compile these and we're going to do a graphic novel. What I'd really like to do is, after the filming of the movie, what I'd like to do is have a couple artists working using your guys' likenesses and doing a graphic novel version of the movie. I'll probably tweak a couple of things for it to be an illustrated version versus the podcast or the movie, but use your guys' likenesses so you have even more impetus to share that and to push that merchandise. You will all get a piece of that. And then within that, there would be the story of Vengeance Turns, the movie. And then I would put a bunch of little extra stories at the end of it. That would be kind of like little, I call them Vengeance Turns Back. and it gives people a kind of a look at kind of singular moments that brought the character they saw in the movie to the place they were in the movie. And it was either direct origin stuff, or like with Hester's character, it shows her being married off to an older guy after her parents are dead. And she's kind of given away to an older man, here, take her. She's pretty and you can do whatever. Just don't let her die, And then that's Mr. Blake. We're going to show stories I've written. It's already drawn. I've just got to get it lettered. There's a story with Simon that you've heard the phrase growing pains. This is called Growing Pained, like past tense, pained. And it's a story of Simon almost killing Jefferson. He wakes up one night after being beaten and he sees his dad's gun hanging on to the side of the post and he takes it and he almost kills him. And his dad wakes up without even seeing him and is not afraid. He lays there with his back to his son and says, "You better pull the trigger." And Simon starts crying and he can't do it. And next thing he sees is boom, a big fist in his face. And his dad beats the shit out of him worse than he did earlier for being gutless, too gutless to kill him. How fucked up is that? And then, of course, I've already got other artists that are interested in this stuff. So we probably will have kind of an ongoing thing. It does look like other artists are interested and want to draw stories. So I imagine other stories, but definitely Ghost with Silent Knives Protects. He was written to be a graphic character. I want to see comics with him. I told Nevin, quite honestly, frankly, and spoiler alert to everybody, pressure on Nevin, pressure him. You've got his email, his Twitter, start banging on his door. Because I did tell him, because he's a writer too. I told him, I said, man, if you like this character and you're interested and you want to develop a story with me and do like a prequel or anything like that, let's do it. Let's develop a story built around Ghost, because that was the intention. We built this world so that any of the characters could be taken out and on their own adventure. And I think Ghost is a natural choice for that. Anybody else have a question?
I got one.
Sure, lay it on me, Nevin.
So the story itself, I know some of the characters and places and whatnot you pulled from true things, but the actual story, is any of that inspired by anything true or real that happened historically?
So what I did is I started doing some research. When I came up with the idea that I wanted to have, and you guys all know my feelings about racism and things. So as I started writing the story and I wanted to do a story about a woman who gets scalped, and potentially by natives, I started doing research on scalping and on kidnappings and things that happened, abductions, literally by natives. And there was a show on AMC called Hell on Wheels. I don't know if you guys ever saw that. It was a pretty good show.
A couple of seasons,
yeah, it was a pretty good show. And one of the girls on there was somebody who had been kidnapped, and they tattooed her and marked her. So it's pretty typical if they should take somebody back then, like a native tribe, if they took a white woman, they would typically mark her and stuff. That way she was spoiled, essentially, but not many people lived through scalping in general. And so what I did was yes and no. I read about literal cases of people being scalped and abducted and things like that. And what I did is I wanted to use that as what really happens. And since I knew that my characters, the ones that were doing the scalping and the abducting, were not actually natives, I wanted to make sure that theirs was not authentic. So when natives scalped people for real, they would start here and they would pull the entire top of your head off. It was lethal. It was lethal. This would kill people. But when Jefferson does it through the story, he does it more like the white man way of doing it, just taking me a little trophy. Taking the head off the deer and leaving the carcass out there, who needs it? And so when Jefferson does his scalpings, he generally just pulls it up, whack, and takes a piece, just like a little trophy. And so it's weird, but yeah, it's based on the opposite of history. Does that make sense? And then I did tons and tons of research just to make sure that on cultural things that I did not do anything to co-opt or mismanage or misrepresent things. And so that was, again, a part of the whole invention of the Lost People, was developing my own little personal culture and avoiding the historical inaccuracies that I see so often that bug me, especially particularly due to indigenous and native people. But there was a lot of research and just a lot of things that affected the character of Mia, and honestly of Hester Blake. There was a character more close to Hester Blake that I literally based that character on than any other character. I found an analog for Hester in reality, a lady who was kind of taking over her husband's business. She didn't murder everybody, but she was very ruthless and cutthroat, and she was the power of her husband's business, and she used the fact that it was an early corporation to be able to do stuff and like make it look like it was her husband because it was a corporation,
You should send me that story so I can.
I'll see if I can find it. Yeah, because it's really good, and it's just very, she exhibited, it's like we were saying, defies the stereotypes. What I liked about it was that she defied convention. She came across in a very aggressively male way while wearing a dress. Do you know what I mean? Her personality and everything about her seemed very aggressively male, but her dress and her hair was male, but her pictures even were like, so she was definitely pushing to be that old Western frontier dude, no matter what. Good question. Did that answer it? I feel like I rambled. And I wasn't trying to avoid it, but I was trying to answer it and be authentic to the answer.
You got it.
Anybody else?
I have a question.
Sure, Azim, what do you got, man?
So with the exception of Frank Ford, what character can you most relate to personally?
I can't relate to Frank Ford at all, man. I relate because Frank Ford to me is he's my fun bastard. If you guys, I don't know how many people actually watched me the other night when I put on the cowboy hat and talked about Westworld and reading Westworld and all that and kept calling everybody bastards and stuff. That's not me, man, but I love it. I love letting that out. You know, you better watch it, you bastards, and all this. Frank Ford is my he's like my my animus. He's my weird other half. I actually relate. This is going to seem really weird and maybe far too revealing. I don't know, but I relate most to Rebecca, and she is based on me more than any other character in the thing, because I am super white. I don't know if you guys can tell. I'm super duper white. But I'm super white. But one of my great grandmothers on my mom's side and at least one of my great grandmothers on my dad's side are 100% native. And so when I was a kid and I met those great grandmothers, I was lucky enough to have met them while they were still alive. They fascinated me in ways that nobody else in my family ever did or could or would. And that part of my history fascinated me. And part of the reason that it fascinated me was because it was kind of hidden from me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That I was super white guy and everything I heard was super white guy. And then I meet my grandmothers and I'm like, but everything I'm learning in school talks about engines and savages and the way it all went down and the way they even are today and everything. And meeting these women was 0% of anything I'd ever been told or anything I had imagined. And when I asked my mom and dad about it, they literally were me as Rebecca's dad. That's where the whole thing about being whitewashed comes from, is my parents told me, you don't ever need to worry about that aspect of my genealogy. And I took that as an insult, and they didn't understand that. And they still don't. This is still a thing that me and my parents differ on, is our feelings about racism. Yet when it came time to go to college, my parents were the first to come back to me and say, don't forget, you have Native American blood and you need to use that for scholarships and for this. And I refused. I never, ever, no matter how many of those applications were pushed at me by my parents and my family, I refused. I never filled out a single application for one thing that would allow me to even attempt. I don't even know if I could have, but I didn't want to find out. I had zero interest in finding out if I could take advantage of a culture that I was not allowed to be expressing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that stuck with me my entire life. There was a point when I graduated high school that I told my parents I was going to go live on an Indian reservation for a while. And they told me that if I did, we were done. That was it. No college, no nothing. Forget it. Done. That was the line in the sand. Just so everybody knows, and we're not going to stay on my family topic forever, but we have drawn the line in the sand since then, and it was about racism, but it came decades later. And I probably should have drawn that line back then. But I did draw it decades later, and I haven't spoken or seen anybody in my family in over 10 years. I am the one person in my family. I'm it. Bobby is Bobby's family. Bobby's family.
Where are your family? What are you talking about?
Bobby, we're all on the call.
Well, I'm not looking for pity.
With 25 people.
That's not it. That's not it. I'm just letting you guys know that's how much.
No.
When I'm on stuff like Wild Love Weekly and I'm screaming at people and telling them, do it. You know, fuck racism and tell your uncle he's a bastard and stuff like that. I'm not saying it like I'm telling you to do something I wouldn't do. That's my life. I have put my own blood at risk for my feelings of what the world should be like. I am a ripple in the pond that I want to see a wave building on. And so Mia and Rebecca are the characters that I relate to. And she was my inspiration. Getting my feelings dealt with and on the page is what literally inspired me to bring Mia to life and allow her to become Mia, to stop being Rebecca and allow her to just become Mia and just let it go. And I needed to let a lot of stuff go. And I finally let it go. And I grew. I became somebody better. And I got to see that happen with my character as well. Even though it's a female in 1876 and so different from me, she is me.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, man. That was. You need a coffee or something? That was. We got very sentimental.
Yeah, that's
I almost. You know,
it's
okay.
I'm not sensitive about it.
Well, I'll tell you what'll make you feel better. Let's do a real quick.
Hold on. It's time. Hey guys, welcome back. It's time for rumors with the weather. Let's talk to Dave Ross. Dave, what are the rumors?
Well, I'll tell you. They abound.
Rumors are abounding, folks. Dave, how's that weather looking?
It's outside. It looks good. Back to you.
And that was Rumors of the Weather with Dave Ross. And see, they rubbed that in my face because I am so fucking COVID obsessed. I rarely leave. I am turning into a hermit. And it's like, yeah, I don't even want to go outside. You guys are the next time I'm going outside. You guys are the only thing that could make me go outside. The demon COVID has driven me inside, and he will not let me leave my abode.
I barely leave too.
Yeah, I don't.
Does anybody else have any other questions about my feelings towards COVID, about Vengeance Turns, about the characters, the origin, the story, anything? I appreciate these questions, and like you just saw, I don't mind being completely and brutally honest. So lay it on me. I got it. I got your answers.
And it's kind of neat because in a bit we're going to be doing the film expo and we're going to be showing everybody's films, and then you guys will be doing your own Q&As and stuff. So nobody's seen the movie yet, but you're kind of making the documentary about making it.
I
got a question.
Yeah, I've lived for this my whole life, where there would be a thing and I'd get to see a director like Darren Aronofsky quizzed by his cast. I've always wanted to see that and never gotten to see it. So again, this is me fulfilling my own masturbatory wishes.
Well, don't let us get in your way.
Yeah, you know? I got a question for you. On behalf of the chat, I got a question for you.
No.
Is the weather a cat? Thank you, Braxton, for asking that question. Is the weather a cat? We don't know, but we do know that the weather is outside.
It's outside, though.
That's not a legitimate question for this segment. Does anybody else have a question for me before we close this segment down? Because like I said, this is something that I've wanted to see my whole life, to see directors and writers willing to do this. This is your opportunity. Some point in the future, you're going to be on a movie, or you're going to look back at this one and wish that you had taken advantage of it. Take advantage of it while you got it. Either listen to the truth or the fascinating lies that I will deliver. What you got?
Another.
No more cat questions. No more cat questions.
Not a cat question, but again,
nothing else off topic.
From
if it's
Facebook,
off topic, skip it.
It's on topic. Is Azim the youngest actor in the movie?
Azim is the youngest actor, and he's not. He's not. We have children. We have children in the movie.
Oh, that is true. We do have kids. So yeah, we will have kids.
We beat 2 children to death. Murder another.
One prays for
one survives.
One survives.
And there's children at the camp also.
Yeah, there are children at the camp.
Children at the camp.
We'll probably repurpose some of the others. You know, wigs.
So Azim, although he does look 12, he is not the youngest.
He's a full-grown man. He's got a girlfriend. That's why I went with us last night. He was girlfriending. He's got love, man. He's got love.
Probably watching right now. Hello.
When you look like that, you got love in your life. You look like this, you learn how to write. Any other cues, you guys? Because I got A's. I got A's for days.
Question.
Lay it on me, Paula.
Did you write this thinking, I'm going to make this an epic movie? Or were you just like, I just want to write a story and...
Just write a story.
Yeah?
Yeah. I wrote my first story when I was 7 years old, and I can't stop. It's like a habit. Here's something weird, and I don't know if you'll ever hear this from other writers. I've maybe heard it from a few. But for me, writing is literally a habit. It's like something that, I'll be honest with you, that it sounds very weird, and you are really going to have trouble digesting this. I wish I could stop. I've wished it my entire life that I wish I could stop writing, but I'm obsessed with writing. It's my habit. I have beside me right now pads of paper with stuff all over it. This is all like while I'm watching TV and listening to music and stuff occurs to me. I start doing it. And ask David and Dave Ross. I start sending them texts and stuff. I start pounding people with messages and stuff like that. So I love telling stories. I love writing. And when I wrote Vengeance Turns, it really was just me thinking about a couple of images that I had in my head and just wanted to see if I could get it out. As most writers, as any of you guys that have ever written know, once you get that first idea, you're just like, would that work? Could I go from A, B into C and get it there? And so it was really just a challenge to see if I could get it out. And it became more and more personal because I think you're relating back to that. As I wrote it, it became more and more personal, and it started pulling at threads of my life and Amanda's too. And then threads that we would even intertwine and stuff.
Right. That's awesome.
Anybody else?
Was it scary writing a story that was so contradictory to like the normal standards?
Yeah, I'll say for me, writing gets scary a lot because you guys will find out if you hang around me very much that I grow very fond of the people that I allow into my life because I don't allow many people in there. And so once somebody's in, it's that whole family thing. Like Azim was saying, like you become my family because of somebody that does not have their own family. I surrogate all the time, and whether people know it or not. And so they become very dear to me. And then what happens to them becomes very important to me. And when I'm writing characters that I really care about, if I'm investing time with them, they start becoming real to me. And so when I do things to them that I don't like, it starts to bother me. And it really took me a long time to write the first scene with Mia of her being attacked, of Rebecca being attacked, because it was causing me to I was feeling physically ill as I was examining what these characters were doing to this woman and what their motivations were, and allowing myself to think inside their heads as they're looking and doing what they're doing, and then putting myself into her head and looking up and experiencing what they were doing. Sometimes it was beyond terrifying. It was sickening. It was something that made me feel utterly and completely ill. But all that pays off when I get to the end of this, because all that pain and all that stuff that I inflict upon myself with those characters as I'm doing something like Vengeance Turns brings me to this point where at the end of it, where I want to do something to a character like Jefferson Coltrane, like kill him twice. Do you know what I mean? And that gives me my ability to sit there and work that back out and say, okay, you guys got to square it off on me, but guess what? In this little page world, I'm God. And so I get to decide who wins and how they win. And so not only will I kill your ass, I'll kill you twice. And I'm going to let her kill you because it's about the money and about that aspect of it. I'm going to let him, and then I'm going to let him kill you because you wanted him to prove that he's a man. And so let's do this. Let's bring it all to a head. And then those moments of glee and satisfaction far, far outweigh any of those earlier moments of fear or disgust. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you definitely, but you're looking for that and you're praying for that the whole way through. Like, I got to get to that point. I got to find that point that makes all of this worth it. You know,
right.
I wrote a character in a movie called The End of Fun that when the character was going through something, I was running around my room and crying because I could not stand what was happening. And I couldn't get myself to finish the scene of what was happening to the character. Even though I already knew it, I couldn't commit it to paper. I was like, no, you know, and I was like, that's it. That's what happens. Good question. And we're still moving. We got time, guys. If anybody else has anything else they want to talk about, any other questions for me, anything that you want to talk about, this is a good time to do it.
I will
say. I was going to say that we.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, you go, Kelsey.
Hello. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Doing good.
Good. I have to head out because I have to teach. But
in the form of a question, please.
May I leave to teach?
We love you, Kelsey. You can do anything you want. You never had to tell us.
Well, Happy Teacher's Day, right? Or was that today?
Here, let's do it like this. Let's
is it really?
Let's prove.
I think so. Isn't today Teacher's Day? Happy Teacher's Day.
Every day is Teacher's Day.
To me.
To prove that we have no problem with Kelsey going to teach, let's vamp her out like this. Teach. Bye, Kelsey.
She go? Is she bye?
Yeah, she's gone. Okay, now let's talk about Kelsey. Now that Kelsey's gone, the party starts.
It's like, Adam, what were you going to...
Yeah. You guys got your beers, right? Open them now.
It's like, Adam, what were you going to say about Kelsey? No.
She's gone, man. Let it go. Yeah. Open up on her.
Oh no, I wasn't going to say anything about her. I was. I'm curious. There's a lot of violence that feels very justified in the story that has been written. I'm curious if you want to give any accolades to specifically like the team that's going to help provide that, whether it's special effects or makeup, because I think it's going to be really amazing, some of these effects, and I don't even know how we're going to shoot it, and I'm really excited to hear about these people that are going to help us make that happen.
Thank you for asking that, man. Because again, it's a good question that comes to me, but it's a question that takes it back away from me. And I'm going to hand that part of the question, part of it, over to Ross when he comes back. But I'm going to tell you that we got a two-headed monster, which is very appropriate for effects team. We have Alondra Ramirez, who David Ruano and I have worked with quite a bit. She did the makeup on her own demons that you guys will see later. And she's awesome to work with. She also made the teeth, the candy teeth. And then Dave Ross has introduced us to Shashisha. That's kind of like Cher. Like she just goes by Shashisha. I usually do it like this. I go Shashisha.
That's how you're supposed to do it while traversing the front of a mic.
Yeah, because you want it. It's on the move. It's like it's a name on the move. And so Shashisha is the other side of this, and the two of them are working on a makeup and literal like practical FX for us. And then they have people working with and for them as well. But it's kind of like a two-headed monster there on the effects team. So big shout out to it's actually Alicia Norberg is her real name. I'll go ahead and say that. But really we call her
Shashisha. Yeah, and you gotta get
And then Alondra Ramirez. And you can find these guys, like if you look at our Instagrams and stuff, you can find them and like up on them as well. But that's a fantastic question because we do have a lot of really talented and more. And like I said, just like everybody here is very open-minded, charity focused, everybody behind the screen or behind the cameras is as well, including Shashisha and Alondra.
And they can see Alondra's work in Her Own Demons.
Sure can. Coming up. And any makeup that you've seen in most of my stuff was either done by Alondra or by somebody that she sent to me. And Alondra is recovering from an operation right now. So we want to say, hey, Alondra, we love you.
Yeah, hey, hi.
She's still working on stuff while she's sick, which is insanity.
Stop doing that.
We'll talk to you very soon.
Don't do that. Get well.
So like Adam did great there, guys. That's a good question about something else about the production. And like anything is open right now. We're headed towards the Film Expo when we want to put the focus back on you guys. But if you have questions about anything behind the curtains or anything, man, feel free to ask.
I want to ask you about Amanda Fry.
Sure.
How do you know her, and what did she write pieces of the script? Or?
The way that Amanda and I did it was really interesting. So I met Amanda through that rigorous casting process that we put out for me. A part of that was that they had to rewrite a scene that I gave them. And then they had to act it. And so it was ridiculous what we made these actors do. And Amanda, we had a handful that really cleared that bar very solid. And one of them was Amanda. And we met with the final like 4 or 5 in person. And Amanda flew in from Texas to meet with me and David. That's how serious things got when we were about to make this movie back several years ago. And one of the things that Amanda brought to the production was that she actually had a property down in Texas where we were potentially going to be using part of it to film. She owns, or her family owned, not any longer, owned a property called Silver Spur Guest Ranch in Bandera, Texas. And so we were like, let's go down there and start casting or location scouting immediately. So we went down to Texas, in Bandera, Texas, right after we hired her in like April of 2017, did some scouting, shot the little sizzle reel just to see footage in the area and stuff. And then we shot the entire short movie of Cut while we were doing that. So if you've seen Cut, we shot all of that and let Amanda direct it and, helped her through it, but she directed that, and so we helped her with that. All of us bonding, becoming creators. Me and David and her wrote that just sitting at a table, drinking coffee, wrote Cut like that. And then Amanda and I wrote Vengeance Turns by me giving her all these pieces that I had already written, along with kind of an outline of here's the basic big pieces of what happens. And then we would talk about it and say, I'm going to write this part, you write this part. And then we would hand each other those parts and we would talk about the transition in between them. And sometimes we would say, here, now you take the part that I wrote and marry it to the part that you wrote and stuff like that. And we just kept on passing stuff back and forth. And she would pass me something and here's this part I wrote. Now you take a look at it. I would send her something I wrote. I'd say, here's this part that I wrote. Now you take a look at it. And we would sit there and rewrite each other's stuff. So we would each write, as you asked, chunk by chunk in these orders, and sometimes way out of order. We would jump all the way to the end. I'd say, let's go to that part at the end where we know we're going to have Jefferson and we're going to kill him. And let's talk about how we kill him. Because the first time we were literally torn when we first decided, we were like, should it be Mia or should it be Simon that kills him? Because it's her story, but it's his arc, you know? So how are we going to do this? And so as we talked about it, she was like, I was just thinking that we would have Mia use a gold bar and like split his head open. And then we've got this kind of full circle about capitalism kills, you know, victim of, you know, die at your own, hoisted on your own petard, you know, that kind of stuff. And I was like, let's do that. But then let's have it where he gets back up, but there's no real threat. He's just up on his feet, shambling, you know, but still alive. And Simon's like, fuck that. You don't get any life, pops, you know? And so Simon splits him from, like we were saying earlier, everybody's dying to see that scene, splits him open and his guts just pour out. And so we would write back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And then there were certain times, like I said, where we would get contentious about it. Like the hallucination, she didn't want it at all. And I was like, it's staying. So now you need to help me write it in a way that you find palatable because it's not leaving. You know, and then there were certain things that she wrote that I did not like. And she would insist, it's staying, it's staying. I was like, okay, it's staying. The whole scene with Ghost and Delicate explaining their politics, she wanted it cut because the only thing Amanda and I do not agree on is politics. So she was like, I want that cut. I don't like it. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't ring true. I was like, it rings very true. It's staying. It's necessary. And it could be the inspiration for the third movie. So it was really fun. And so Amanda and I just kept on going back and forth on this. We developed the hell out of it. But what really happened, we intended to rewrite this together immediately after we finished it. But what happened was we got a producer involved who said, let's run with it. Let's go. Started trying to get $1 million and all this stuff. And we never got back around to rewriting it because we never had that opportunity. And then Amanda, with the way that everything just fizzled out, she had other things going on. Like she's a former El Paso police officer. Oh. And the whole thing about Mia's fucked up hand comes from Amanda. Amanda, as an El Paso police officer, was in a struggle with a perp. And during their struggle, her hand got caught in his handcuffs. He was already cuffed and it ripped her thumb off. And they got it and they're able to get it back on. But it's basically cosmetic. It's not what it used to be. And so David and I and Amanda, as we all sat there talking about this, we were like, let's not shoot around it. Let's not try to find a way to not include it. Let's find a way to put it on the screen. Let's find a way to make it part of the story. Let's put a gauntlet on her. Let's go pure few dollars more and all that, where the gunslinger has the weird thing on his arm. Let's give her a gauntlet, you know? And so the whole idea of the claw, of her developing a claw weapon that becomes the core, again, like parts of my struggle with my family become the core of Mia's, you know, emotional movements. Stuff like Amanda's physical becomes part of Mia's whole physical thing that is part of the whole definitive characteristic. You know, it's like her signature thing is this claw, you know? And it's all born by the fact that Amanda was a former El Paso police officer. And so she was really involved with charities that support officers who have been injured, clearly, right? Makes sense. And she's gone on to build that over the years. And now that's really successful. And David actually has done some work, even continues to do work for her in that regard. It's called Borderland 100. And they support not just police, but all emergency workers, fallen EMT, firefighters, police, people who have emergency workers who have fallen on the job. Her organization supports them and their families as they recover and move forward. And I think it's invaluable work. So not only am I happy to have had Amanda as part of the writing team on this, regardless of our difference in politics, it's amazing to know that, again, one more person involved in this project is out there spreading those ripples and doing good work in the world.
Cool.
Thank you for asking about Amanda and bringing her back into this. And we're actually we had another show we started developing with Amanda at one point that if we get the success that we need from this, all we need is a couple of dollars to give us the forward momentum we need for another TV show called Scene It Root. That basically, you guys know, like behind the scenes, like we're doing all this right now. We were talking about doing like a reality show where you would put like 3 filmmakers in an RV and they travel around and go to different locations. The filmmakers would get out and look at the locations and talk about, I see it like this, and I see it like this, and I see it like this. And then they would all talk about a story, and they would all go off differently and film that story using the location. And then at the end of each episode, each half an hour or hour episode, most of it would focus on the locations and all the talking, but then we'd put a little bitty short movie at the end of every episode. So it'd be like flipping the whole paradigm of DVDs with movies and behind the scenes. Make the behind the scenes the show, and then show them a little short movie at the end, and have a web presence where you show them all the other stuff and make it very interactive. So while we're out there in the RV, we're dealing with people on Instagram and constantly keeping it live and stuff. So cross your fingers, guys. We got a bunch of other ideas that should the momentum continue. Mariah was a part of that. If the momentum should continue, we're not going to stop. And we're going to keep finding ways to keep creating. We're going to find ways to keep spreading positivity, keep spreading the message of other talented people, and keep on putting positive things into the world and putting money and resources into the right pockets. So keep on keeping on, guys, and stay with us and let us know what you're passionate about. Let me and David know how we can help you on your projects. Let's get some synergy between all of us and all of our different stuff. Let's all make the world a better place. The world can be a better place for you. And me.
And what better way to make a better place is by helping us, contributing to some of the causes that we're all passionate for. We do have a charity list and an organization list that we're all passionate for. Help us by helping them. That's how we can grow as a community, because it's all about being a community. That's the best way to grow.
There's that word.
You don't want to just grow by yourself. You want to grow with a family, with a community. And by doing so, you can do it in several different ways and be part of our small little community of the cast members of Vengeance Turns by going to our Indiegogo campaign. And again, we're not asking money because we're going to put it in our pockets. No,
it's not for me and David.
It's not for me and David either. The other one.
Right. That over there. That guy.
But it's to make sure, because we are making Vengeance Turns. That is a fact. We are making Vengeance Turns. And with your help, we'll be able to increase the production value as well as the amount that we'll be paying these talented actors that you see here on the screen right now.
And you're getting ready to see some of their other work.
Yes. And again, don't get me wrong. We are making this movie and everyone in here is getting paid. But we want to increase the amount that they're getting paid. So with your contributions, we will be able to make that happen. And our Indiegogo is live right now. Go to the link in the description of the video or go onto Indiegogo and search for Vengeance Turns the Motion Picture. Very simple. Every penny counts and is truly, truly appreciated.
And guys, go ahead.
Plus, we have some great bundles available for your contributions. Because again, it's a give and take. For your contributions, you can get T-shirts, you can get pins. We have posters that are going to be signed by the cast members. Even to the point where we have a couple tiers where your name can be in the credits of the film. But that's only available through our Indiegogo campaign. So please go there. It only takes a couple minutes, so you can go there and then come back. We'll still be here. We still have almost another day left of content for you guys. And you'll be on your way to supporting this amazing group of artists.
And on that note, that's what I wanted to say, David, is if nothing else, because Dave and I keep talking about it, and we're being very irreverent about it. So I know people are watching when we talk about that this money is not for me and not for David or Dave Ross. People are like, oh, yeah, right, dudes. And it's not. If nothing else, we're transparent in everything that we're doing. And so one of the deals we made with all the actors on this movie is they're allowed to take pictures and live stream and take pictures and all this stuff from the set. And if we're full of shit, these guys are going to be doing nothing but streaming that to you. They're going to be saying, hey, remember those assholes and what they were telling you on that telethon? They are keeping us prisoners in their compound, and they're not raising their income. They got video games over there that they're playing, and they're not COVID safe. You know, whereas what we want to do is we're already investing extra money. But the fact that we're filming this in this pandemic is requiring extra time, extra care, extra equipment to support the idea of social distancing, of masks and everything like that. This is not cheaper, not easier. This is harder. Okay. And so what we're asking for with the support is we're asking to make this a better experience for our actors, you guys, because we're dedicating a lot of the money that should have just gone to them, that should have just gone to the production, to making sure that we're all safe. We want that to happen, and we want to be transparent. These guys are going to let you know all the way through it. Hopefully all I can pray is that as our fundraisers all get funded and everything happens and we're making the movie, that these actors are on the screen, like singing our praise and saying, these guys, that everything they've said has been right. You know, everything they were just going and ranting on and on about, it's been right. We're on a safe set. They're taking care of us. They're making sure that we're safe. They're making sure that we have the right food, that we're not exposed, that we're getting it all safely. They're making sure that we got paid right. They took the old contracts that we signed and they ripped them up. And well, you guys haven't signed anything, but they said the contract, the deals that we made are gone. And that now the deals that we made have increased by, not like adding on a little bit, like it'll be multiples of what we're talking about paying you guys right now. So if you love these guys, if these are your friends and family on the screen right now, you want to support this. You want to understand that we're transparent and know that nothing is going to stop them from telling you they were full of shit, man. They were full of shit. That's just not who we are. That's not why we're doing what we do. We're doing what we do to help them. We're doing what we do to help them help the organizations that they like. We're doing this so that if Vengeance Turns is successful as we imagine that it could be, all the money from the back end after a certain point that just gets me paid for being the writer and director, any of that extra that would normally, oh yeah, baby, lay it on me, I'm George Lucas or whatever, any of that money, the way that I wish that Star Wars and Jaws and E.T. and those production crews had taken the money that Lucas and Spielberg and these guys had said, you know what, instead of taking all that money and showering me with it, let's put it back into the universe. That's what I'm doing. That's what Robert Christopher Smith is committed to doing on this movie, and not just for random things. It's not like, well, maybe he's going to contribute it to the Nazi party, or maybe he's going to give it to strippers with needs for more drugs. This is me.
Was that really one of the causes?
No, that's what I'm saying, is the organizations that I'm going to aim my money at. It's right there on the website, 48hourtelethon.com. And it's the organizations these guys care about. I care about, there's ones that I'm on there too, but I'm investing my money for the rest of my life that gets made from Vengeance Turns, investing it into the causes that these people care about. That's what I want anybody watching right now that cares and loves these people. I want you guys to know my commitment to your friends and family.
Yeah.
Mic drop. Ben Stead's the pen.